Have you ever been sitting at your desk, maybe on a perfectly normal Tuesday, and just thought, is this really it? If that quiet feeling of what's next has been knocking, you are not alone. Our next guest helps people tackle the exciting and, yes, a little scary idea of a midlife career change. She's a former Hollywood assistant turned powerhouse mentor, career strategist, and author. Let's welcome Rachel Zizlansky-Shear. Good to have you on, Rachel.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, so Rachel, that is this it feeling can be so vague. So how can someone figure out if it's just a bad week or a true sign that maybe it's time for a completely new professional chapter?
Yeah, I think it's really important to check in with yourself, right? And figure out, is this just a bad moment I'm having, or is this more of a pattern of unhappiness in this specific job? So you kind of do a little intake with yourself, a little gut check, if you will, and see if this is something that you're really just not happy. I think a really good way to tell is, am I feeling drained more than I'm feeling energized by this job? That's a pretty good indicator.
And you mentioned checking in with your feelings. So let's talk about those big emotions like fear and doubt. What are your top strategies for quieting that
Yeah.
noise and building the courage to actually make a move?
Yeah, you have to sort of shift your mindset. First of all, fear is normal, right? And you have to shift your mindset. Instead of going, what if I fail? Or you're scared to take a step, right? You don't want to pivot because what if I fail? You want to sort of change your mindset around that and say, what if this is the best thing that I've ever done for my life? And it's going to make me finally feel fulfilled and finally happy. So it's really making your mind and checking in with yourself and realizing that the confidence is sort of built over time, small steps, right? So making sure your materials are polished, your resume is ready to go, your LinkedIn matches your resume, matches your social media. Everything is telling the same narrative. Super important.
Yes, and then once someone decides to go for it, you know that how am I going to do this feeling can be overwhelming. So, what would you say are the very first concrete steps to start building a new personal brand and tapping into a network for that pivot?
Yeah, I think what you said, like tapping into the network is so important because most people actually get their jobs through people they already know. So networking and strategic networking, not just, making phone calls or reaching out to people, but really strategic outreach, reaching back out to old coworkers or mentors or friends, people that might be able to get you where you want to go. But I think that's so important. And then also connecting the dots for someone. Like your narrative it might not be straightforward, right? So you want to connect the dots, explain, here's where my resume's been, but here's where I
Yeah.
want to go and why.
Okay. And then we have to talk about your upcoming book, Straight from the Grapevine: How to Crush Your Job
Yeah.
Search. What's the core piece of advice someone can take from it today to feel more in control of their search?
Yeah, I think it's just sort of bringing people back to the basics, right? Like job search 101. I think with right now with social media and the internet, it's like there's so much noise, even LinkedIn, there's so much noise out there. So this book is really designed to get you back to the basics. Like, what are the steps that you need to do to be successful in your career search? And one of our favorite things is networking, like I just spoke about. It's really how most people get their jobs. And I think it's something that people forget. That's sort of a lifelong thing, is being really strategic about your network and who you know.
I like that. And I like that you mentioned intentional networking. Rachel, thank you so much for these tips.
Yeah.
I'm going to let our viewers know where they can go for more information. Turn midlife career uncertainty into action. You can find out more by heading to thegrapevineagency.com.